Hey guys, I am back with another week's worth of dinner meals. I like to keep my dinner budget $5 or below. And for reference, I live in Oklahoma City, and this is for myself and my two kids, 17 years old and 18 years old. So basically, three adults. And I mostly shop sales and discounts and do reverse meal planning around that. So these are pretty frugal slash cheap meals. I hope you enjoy. My first dinner of the week was this Frito taco salad. I just topped it with some of this sour cream. First, I started with this whole yellow onion. I just diced it up finely and sauteed it in this pan for a couple of minutes. I had this half a pound of Jimmy Dean sausage. It was the sage flavor left over. So I thought this would be good for this taco salad. I found these on sale for $1 at my local cash saver. It came to $1.10 once I paid the 10% at checkout. I'm just going to go ahead and get this into smaller pieces here and let it cook down for a little bit. I did have one romaine heart left, so I wanted to use this with this taco salad. So I'm just cutting these little cores out of all of these, and then I'm going to dice it into fine shreds. I did buy this whole package of lettuce for 99 cents. It was on the markdown produce cart at my local Crest store, so that does help keep this price down as well. My sausage is almost done, so I'm going to go ahead and add a can of drained kidney beans to this pan on the back burner, and I'm also going to add this can of Rotel that's not drained. This can of Rotel actually expired last year, so I really wanted to get it used up. While that's heating, I'm going to go back to my ground sausage. I added about an eighth to a quarter cup of water. I'm going to add some ground cumin, some cayenne pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and some chili powder. This is basically just taco seasoning. And I also added some salt. This was definitely a use it up meal. I had that Rotel that was expired. I wanted to use that up quickly. I also had the half pound of the sausage and the heart of romaine. And also, I have a bag of Fritos that had expired a week prior to, so I really wanted to get those used up as well. The total for this meal ended up coming to $4.94, which is below my target of a $5 dinner meal. I gave my beans and rotel a good stir because they've cooked down pretty nicely. I have this 24-ounce block of cheese for $2.99 I got on markdown, so I just grated a partial amount of that. I also have two of these avocados I got for 33 cents each. I'm just cubing them here and putting them on my cutting board, and I'm going to just top my salad with them as well. I haven't been to my local homeland in about a month and a half, but the last time I was there, they did have these Fritos on sale for 99 cents, which was a great deal. So I wanted to get these used up because they were getting ready to expire. And so that was kind of the inspiration behind this meal. This ended up turning out really great. I was glad that I used these Fritos for this taco salad. My second night's dinner was kind of a runoff of the first night. I was using the rest of those Fritos, so I did this Frito Crunch Burrito, and I'm using up this half pound of ground turkey that I had left in the freezer. I also have this Knorr's Spanish rice sides I paid 73 cents for. I used a coupon to get it down to that price. And I'm just starting with the water that is supposed to go with the sides to start out. I did have some leftover olives that I wanted to use up and a little bit of this head of lettuce that I had as well. My water's boiling for my rice, and so I'm adding this vegetable oil, and then I'm going to add the rice from the package, and I will put it down to simmer. If you guys have seen one of my previous videos where I did Mexican rice and I can never get that right, someone did comment and tell me about their recipe that they do for rice. I cooked this dinner right before I seen that comment, so I am going to try their way next time. I did set my timer for 7 minutes for the rice. I got my turkey grounded down a little bit better, and I had a little bit of the leftover beans, rotel, and sausage from the night before that I just added to this taco mixture. And I'm just basically doing the same seasoning as night one with the garlic, onion powder, paprika, salt, and chili powder. I did add about a quarter cup of water before adding my seasoning, and then I also added some ground cumin and some Italian seasoning. Last year, I stocked up on this ground turkey from Walmart because it was on sale for, I believe, $1.70 something, but I'm not a big fan. It kind of has a rubbery texture to it, but I am trying to get it used up. The 7 minutes has passed on this rice, and it still has kind of a runny texture to it, so I am going to set my timer for another 3 minutes. I still had some of this cheese whiz that I got on markdown for 99 cents, and it's probably about a half a cup worth. I did add just a little bit of water to make it a little bit creamier. Now that my meat and bean mixture is ready, I'm just loading it onto my tortillas here. I got these on markdown for 99 cents, which really helps with the price too. These are the 10-inch, which really helps with the rolling and folding. So I just added a little bit of my rice and my diced olives and some of my lettuce, and then I'm going to top this with some of the Fritos. I left the cheese off of this first one, and I did add the cheese to the next two. I'm not good at rolling these. I know a lot of people are good at it and they get them really tight. I had a hard time getting them rolled perfectly. I just repeated the process with the next two and in addition added cheese to these. And I think this cheese whiz is perfect for these burritos because it's nice and creamy. Every single ingredient for these burritos I did get on either sale or markdown except for the olives. The olives I paid regular price, I believe $1.55 for the can, and I only ended up using a fraction of it. This was the leftover olives that I had from a couple of previous recipes. So my total for this meal came to $3.54. I'm just adding these two first to my pan and I'm just going to get them nice and browned on both sides. I was glad I only made three because we all three only needed to eat one each because these were so big and filling. They remind me of the little crunch burritos that Taco Bell has. They were so good. Night three dinner was supposed to be jambalaya originally, and it ended up being just a breakfast throw together meal because I ran out of time. We were just so busy. I had this kielbasa. It's, I believe, either 12 or 14 ounce. I originally had thawed out two packages for the jambalaya. I ended up putting one back in the freezer, but I'm just cutting these into, I believe, quarters is what it ended up being. There's 16 pieces altogether, and I'm glad that I had 16 because my son's friend ended up showing up as I was cooking, so this was just the right amount for 4 people. I did use about 2 tablespoons of leftover bacon grease to fry these up in, and I just turned them down face down to start frying them in the skillet. I was able to get this kielbasa sausage on markdown for $1.50, which is a really good buy. And I ended up pairing oranges with this meal, and I believe the oranges that I purchased this last time I got on markdown for 99 cents a bag, and there was about 6 in the bag. So that helped with the price as well. And then the dozen of eggs I bought for $1.99, and we ended up using 8 of them. So my total for this meal came to $3.49. My sausage is done now, so I'm just putting it to the side on a paper towel. I am going to use a different frying pan for my eggs because I like this non-stick one for the eggs. They don't stick at all. But I am going to use the rest of the grease out of my skillet to pour into the pan. And I also had a little bit left in the jar that I was keeping the bacon grease in. I just heated it into the microwave to get that last little bit out. This was the dozen of eggs I was talking about. I got a markdown for $1.99. These are pasture raised eggs. They're higher quality than the normal ones that I buy, but since they were $1.99, I went ahead and grabbed them. I started out with 4. I ended up frying 8 in total. I just got the boys their 2 plates going first, and then Lily and we had ours on the second round here. While that was finishing, I went ahead and peeled these oranges to pair with our meal here, and I thought this was a pretty good and healthy meal. It tasted good, and for a throw it together meal, this turned out great. And night four's dinner was these stuffed bell peppers with meatloaf, baked potato, and a side salad. I started with this half-pound of ground turkey that I got from Walmart and a half-pound of ground beef that I got from Crest. And I got this beef for $2.98 a pound, which was a great deal. I stocked up on it at the time. I'm also using 1 egg, and I'm going to use a can of vegetable soup and these protein oats. I have about a cup left in this canister. These oats actually expired at the end of last year, so I wanted to get them used up very quickly. And also, this vegetable soup was given to me last year by someone doing a pantry clean out, so I did get that for free. I'm adding some onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. This is basically just the way that I grew up eating meatloaf, and so I am just doing my basic meatloaf recipe and just stuffing it into these bell peppers. I did have half of a yellow onion from a previous recipe, so I just diced that up and added it to the mixture. I'm just going to give this a good mix with my hand here, and I am already noticing that it is a little bit looser than what I want it to be, so I did get that other half cup of oats, and I was glad because that was the last of the oats from this container. I just mixed it all the way through, and I'm going to go ahead and get my peppers ready to get them stuffed. I lined my pan with some tinfoil and then just added some cooking spray. And now I'm just going to go ahead and stuff my peppers. I was able to get these bell peppers on markdown. They were in the reduced produce cart. They usually put 5 or 6 to one bag and mark them down to 99 cents. And a regular price at my store is usually 50 cents. So that was a great deal that helped keep the cost down of this, plus the ground beef that I used in the ground turkey. And then you will see that I used pepper jack cheese. I have a 16-ounce block that I got on markdown for $1.99, and I only used a fraction of that cheese block for this recipe. So my total cost for this meal came to about $5.22. I was able to get 8 in total of these stuffed peppers. I recently had someone comment, I believe it was Kathy, commented on one of my previous videos about cheese grating. She recommended that I lay the cheese grater down on the side to grate my cheese, which I tried on this recipe, and it actually was a lot easier to grate the cheese, so I liked that tip. And here I'm just topping the bell peppers, the stuffed peppers with the pepper jack cheese. If I had to do this over again, I would have cooked these first, and then probably in the last 20 minutes, I would have added the cheese. I popped them in the oven at 375 for 45 minutes. And while that was going, I went ahead and got my bag salad prepared. I always love shopping at Crest because they have these reduced bag salads all the time. And I don't think I've bought a regular priced bag salad in forever because these are always just so fresh and they're just 99 cents. If you guys are enjoying this video, go ahead and hit the like button. That helps me a lot. And also, if you have any tips or anything to add to the meals as I'm doing them, just leave a comment below. I appreciate that as well. And if you want to see more videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe. I'm still trying to get rid of these russet potatoes, and so I threw 2 in the microwave to make baked potatoes. I'm going to top it with some butter and a little bit of the pepper jack cheese and some of this sour cream chive dip that I got on sale for $1.50. I thought that would pair well with this baked potato. This meal really hit the spot. It was nice and wholesome and filling. I did throw in a dessert this week. I did this blueberry cobbler and some homemade ice cream. I didn't actually make the blueberry cobbler though, but I did make this ice cream using my Ninja Creamy machine. I'm just using 1 cup of milk, a teaspoon of vanilla, a pinch of salt, and I'm trying to get rid of this sugar-free vanilla pudding that I got from Walmart. I'm using half a tablespoon of that here. I also have some xanthan gum. I am using a quarter of a teaspoon of that. And I also have this monk fruit sweetener. I'm using 3 teaspoons. Once I gave that a good shake, I put that in my deep freezer for 24 hours. That is the length of time you have to freeze it for the Ninja Creamy. Yes, I know how to make a homemade cobbler. However, I am proud to say that I did find this cobbler on markdown for 99 cents. That is way cheaper than what it would cost me to make it homemade. So I was excited for that find. This cobbler had some pretty simple instructions, just to place it on tin foil and a cookie sheet and remove the film, and I set my temp to 350 and my timer to 1 hour. However, when I did pull it out, it still wasn't done, so I did it for another 15 minutes, and I felt like that was the perfect amount of time to get the edges nice and browned. And this was absolutely delicious. I had to let it sit for 15 minutes per the instructions. I pulled my ice cream out of the freezer. Now is where I'm going to do the Ninja Creamy machine where it grinds it up and turns it into a soft serve. I just did the light ice cream. It does it for about 2 minutes. It grinds it down. And this is where you have to add just a little bit of either water or milk to get it to the consistency that you need. And then I just did it for another, I believe it's a full minute. It's just the remix button, and this is the perfect consistency. So I just went ahead and cut my cobbler up. I did want a pretty big piece because I was excited about this dessert. So I did get a pretty big serving here. No judgment. And I went ahead and served it with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. This was absolutely divine. I was so happy and excited about this. I've never tried to make homemade ice cream without the Ninja Creamy, but I know there is some great videos on YouTube if anybody's interested in checking those out if you want to make your own homemade ice cream. My total cost for this cobbler and ice cream came to about $1.99. If you guys made it this far, thank you for watching.